We might argue that policies and practices have not moved fast enough to keep pace with climate change and other kinds of changes. That is a good argument, I believe, and that policy needs to be more responsive. I definitely believe that. But on the other hand, I do believe that there has been some shifts in the mountains, and for example, people themselves migrate, or people trying to adapt locally to changing situations. So I believe for local people it's not business as usual. I think we have to step up our efforts in that to help change happen. If we take IPCC for an example, that certainly has made a dent on politics and politicians. So I think that's one good example. I do also agree that scientists can be much better and much more proactive at communicating the messages. One is that we have to be good at addressing the right issue. A lot of times science is not addressing the changes that you had talked about. That's number one. Secondly, to make sure that it is policy relevant, and then to translate our scientific language into a language that can be digested. That's important, but it's not scientists. And then the third is really to engage scientists, not all science, but a certain amount of scientists need to engage politicians or policymakers, and I think that's a responsibility for us in this climate change. I think there's been some good science in the region that has made a difference, but that science through means of communication, getting our work out, and actually I think the role of Climate Himalaya is that too, to get those messages out. So I think that there is scope for improvement there. For organizations like my own, like ICIMOD, we have to engage politicians, policymakers, right from the start to make sure we're addressing the right question. Right, and then I think people will be very interested in the answer. Best adaptation strategy for people is really to address the issue of poverty and vulnerability to change or all kinds of disasters. So I think the efforts need very much to be people-focused and to look at improved livelihoods. So just think, if you have a little bit, people that have more money, it's easier to do things, right? If a disaster comes and you have a little savings, it's easy to do something else. It's easier to get over drought if you can go to the market and buy some food. It's as simple as that. So I think whatever income generating, any livelihood activities that for mountain people that we can address, I think that's very important. But if you focus on adaptation, I believe the water has to be central in your mind. And so what is it? So for example, if you're thinking agriculture, it's the rain is water, right? Thinking about shift in rainfall patterns, the floods, the droughts, especially in the Himalayas, it's snow melt and glacier melt. One, how to take care of our water systems better. And two, if they are changing, how to manage the precious water resource we have in a much better way. I believe what has changed since Rio, I think the face of mountains across the globe has changed quite a bit. And it's not necessarily gotten better because of the 20 years ago Rio. I think the forces on the mountains are tremendous. So I think in the global sense, what we need is global recognition of the mountains. They're important for ecosystems, important because they're home of many poor people, and to get compensation